It's mailbag time here on Chicago Bears Now. I am Harrison Graham. We'll kick things off with Rob Jackson. He says, if the top three wide receivers are gone at number 9, but Brock Bowers and Dallas Turner are there, who would you draft? Well, that's a good question. We've talked about both these players quite a bit. Brock Bowers, decorated 3-year career for Georgia, 2-time national champion, but really from day dot was super productive. He fills a clear need for this team. I know everybody's like, oh, Cole Kmet. This isn't a Cole Kmet replacement. This is a guy to enhance Kmet. Kmet is more of a wide tight end, which is a guy that can block and be a good receiving tight end, but not like this Travis Kelce yards after the catch tight end as much. Brock Bowers is a U tight end. He could block some and at an adequate level, but he is incredible with the ball in his hands. I mean, they use him on reverses at Georgia. How many tight ends run reverses and jet sweeps? They had him do it. Dallas Turner on the other side of the football, I thought he had a great year. He put on some weight as well. I'm curious to see where he weighs in at the NFL Combine, but 10 sacks, really productive. He's always been very good against the run. He plays with an attitude as well. I like the idea of pairing him with Montez Sweat, so I don't think you could go wrong. I'll ask you guys, who would you rather have? Like, say the top 3 receivers are gone, like in this hypothetical, who would you rather have at 9 if they're both there? If you want Brock Bowers, type BB. If you want Dallas Turner, type DT. I think I'd go Bowers, man. I think you pair him with Cole Kmet. You get another receiver next to DJ Moore, whether it's in free agency or in the draft. You're starting to cook. You can run some 12 personnel if you're Shane Waldron. Fernie with the super chat, he says, I don't care if we lose next year's first. If we come out the draft with Caleb and Marvin, that would be the best possible outcome, franchise changing. Be a lot of fun, man. I know Ryan Poles isn't one to give up future first-round picks easily, but if he feels that strongly about Marvin Harrison Jr., it'd be hard to argue against it, right? Like, if he wants Caleb and if he wants to get Marvin, you know, maybe you take Caleb at 1, trade 9, and your next year first to move up to 3 or 4 to take Marvin. That'd be a pretty damn good combo to bring in next to DJ Moore as well. So, yeah, it could be franchise changing. George, does Caleb even want to play with the Bears? There's no indication he doesn't, and he should want to. He should want to embrace the opportunity to be the quarterback that changes history in this town. And this is not a typical number 1 pick situation. Like, this isn't Bryce Young walking into Carolina with nothing to work with. He already has DJ Moore. He already has Cole Kmet. He has some young, talented offensive linemen. He has a good defense, which helps out a young quarterback. Oh, and by the way, the Bears have a ton of cap space and another top 10 pick. Like, they have assets to build around Caleb, believe it or not. Geezer Kieran, any way you can get me Jackson Powers Johnson. I think the only way at this point, Geezer, is if you trade down from 9 and take him later in the first round. Maybe if a team like Pittsburgh will give you the 20th pick for Justin Fields, you could get him in that range, but I don't think he's falling to round 2. Like, even if the Bears do get a second-round pick at some point, which I think they will, I think he goes in round 1. He's been dominant at the Senior Bowl. He was dominant this season at Oregon, so I'd love to have him. I'm just not sure he's in the range where the Bears are going to be picking. Tricky Trips, I don't see how people are saying Odunze will make it to 9. Neither will Nabers. If you want a safe wide receiver, keep Justin, draft MHJ at 2 or 3. Yeah, I mean, it's very possible those 2 dudes don't fall to 9. Now, if you're sitting there and saying you want Caleb, but if you can't get a top 3 receiver, you just keep Justin, that's just bad process. Like, if you're the Bears and you think Caleb's an upgrade and you want him, you trade him and you figure out the receiver part of it later. Like, you don't sacrifice the quarterback position if that's what you want to do just because you're unsure if a certain receiver will fall to 9. So I hear what you're saying. I just don't think they'll operate that way. All right, guys, we got plenty of FGB T-shirts available for you guys. You see the link down below. You see the shirt right here. Chatsports.com/FGB. Pick one up today. Link is going to be in the comments and in the description of this video. Chatsports.com/FGB. It's always a good day to hate on the Packers. Cranes make gains. #Bears. I see a lot of people compare Justin's college career to Caleb's. Look at the receivers they had. JF1 had stars while Caleb had to elevate his team. I mean, I do want to be fair. Williams had Jordan Addison last year, and without him, his play dipped a bit this year. But there's a lot of validity to this. Justin had a better offensive line, and this is not to downgrade Justin, but he had Chris Olave, he had Garrett Wilson. Jamison Williams wasn't really Jamison Williams yet, but he had those two dudes. Caleb Williams' best receiver this year was either Brendan Rice or Taj Washington. Both will be day 3 draft picks at best. So, yeah, I mean, Justin's last year versus Caleb's last year, it's not even close who had more talent around him. It was Justin. William Bomer, trade Fields for a second this year and use that pick for a QB like JJ or Bo. So you're saying trade Fields but not take a quarterback in the first round? I think that is the least likely scenario. If you don't take a QB at number 1 overall, you're keeping Fields, in my opinion, unless you trade down to like 2 or 3 and take a QB. But I don't think you're trading Fields and then drafting a QB in the second round. Like, that just doesn't make sense to me. DC Viper, what type of trade would it take for the Bears to really consider trading the first overall pick? Well, I don't know if any trade would do it, but I think one that would make them think about it is like if a team like the Raiders offered Max Crosby and 3 firsts or something like that. If the Patriots at 3 offered you 3, their first next year, their second this year, a future pick, and like a player or something like that. Like, you're going to have to be blown away, I think, to trade down from 1. I really do believe that. Turtle, #Bears, he says, polls might be tricking the NFL by making them think they are taking Caleb, thus making the pick more valuable. Perhaps, I'll say this, if that's what he's doing, because all the chatter is, I think the Bears are going to take Caleb, I think the Bears are going to take Caleb, he's doing a hell of a job if that's the case. Now, I will say this, I don't think he's made a final decision. If we're to believe him when he says getting to know the person is most valuable, well, then there's no way he could have that decision made up yet. The combine hasn't come yet. These pre-draft meetings haven't happened yet with players. So I don't think that decision could be final. Now, they might have checked off on, hey, unless something major with his personality or background pops up, we're drafting him. They might be at that conclusion, but even then, you got to meet him and make sure he checks those boxes. So keep that in mind. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We're publishing 2 or more videos per day here on Chicago Bears Now. We're going live at least twice a week. Also, we might be going live Monday, Wednesday, Friday in the near future after the Super Bowl to ramp up our live coverage in the offseason. So if you're interested in any of that, and if you want the latest Bears news, rumors, draft, and free agency coverage, trade buzz, hit that subscribe button and join the channel. Mike Nintendo Master, if you were offered a 1st and 4th for Justin Fields and a 4th, so a 1st and a 4th for Fields and a 4th, would you do it? I'd heavily consider it, man. Heavily consider it. But again, you have to sign off on whoever you're drafting first. So I don't think a trade will happen before the combine, but I do think if they come to the decision that they're drafting a QB, it probably should happen before free agency because there's actually a few decent free agent quarterbacks. Kirk Cousins, Baker Mayfield, Gardner Minshew. So I think you lose value on a potential Fields trade if you wait until April. William Brock, could Braxton play inside if we go after alt or another OT? I don't know. I don't know if he has a strong enough anchor, if I'm being honest. That's his biggest weakness is that when he gets bull rushed by powerful edges, he can get pushed back. Well, if you kick him inside and he's going up against nose tackles and even 3 techs, he's going to play even more powerful players. So I do think he's a tackle. I think he's an above-average left tackle. If they're blown away by Joe Alt or someone like that, then you obviously have to consider taking him at 9, but I don't think I view Braxton as someone I would consider kicking inside. Lacora, what percentage of the Bears are winning the NFC North? I'm going to say 15%. That sounds right. 15 to 20 right now. That's right now. I think that could change. That could fluctuate. Listen, the Lions just went to the NFC Championship game, and neither of their coordinators left, despite both being head coach candidates. The Green Bay Packers just won a playoff game. Like, right now, you'd have to consider both those teams ahead of the Bears, but the Bears have a lot of assets to add with this offseason. I think that gap can be closed. I do think there's a chance they could win the North. Lucas, I want Fields, but I trust Poles. It's his job to make the decision. I'm just a dude watching football. I'm rooting for whoever's on the team. I think it's a great way to put it. Regardless of what side you're on, if you want Fields, you want Williams, you're indifferent. I think I think we have to recognize that, hey, these decisions are out of our hands. Yes, be passionate about your fandom, but B, we don't have to put others down like, no, you're wrong, you're this, that. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. End of the day, Poles is going to make a choice, and we're going to have to live with it. So, and we'll either cheer him, rip him, or both, depending on how it plays out. So it'll be very interesting. Who do you guys got winning the Super Bowl? Type KC for the Chiefs, SF for the 49ers. I'm leaning Kansas City in a close one right now, 27-24, but we'll see how it goes. I just think Mahomes as an underdog is too good of a play. I think he's 10-1-1 as an underdog now, so that's tough odds. I like Kansas City in a tight one. Let me know who you guys think wins. Brogan Bear, do you worry about the players requesting trades or sitting out if Fields is traded? With how much the team loves him and wants him, do you think it could cause issues? I don't worry about that. I know a lot of players have gone public in their defensive fields and wanting to keep him. And quite frankly, A, I respect the hell out of that. And B, they should do that. He is a guy that works his ass off. He's a first in the building, last to leave type of guy. He's done a lot of good things. I don't blame them for doing that. He's one of their guys. But these guys are professionals. Maybe initially there's some frustration, but I don't think if they trade Justin, DJ Moore is going to go to social media and request a trade the next day. I just don't. I think time heals all wounds, and if Caleb gets in there or whoever gets in there and starts dealing, it's going to be just fine. Cranes make gains. Watching Caleb reminds me of all those miserable games watching Rodgers with the way he can make plays. He can do some special things, man. Now, so can Justin. There's no doubt about it. But Caleb's quick release, the sidearm stuff, the throwing on the run. I mean, there's an incredible talent in there. There's no doubt. Super chat or use hashtag Bears to get on the show. A couple more here. Michael, what if we take MHJ 1, Bowers 9, and then acquire a second-round pick and take Bo Nix? Blech. I'm not a Bo Nix guy. I don't think he's an NFL starting quarterback. Backup, sure. I'm not down. If you want to go this route, I just roll with Fields. Now, I do appreciate the idea of, you should still draft a quarterback for depth or competition. I just don't want it to be Nix, if I'm being honest. Evan Shipman, trade 1 and 9 for Josh Allen. I mean, if the Bills would do that, I would heavily consider it. You plug in Josh Allen with DJ Moore, sign a Calvin Ridley or something like that, but the Bills aren't doing that. It's not going to happen. All right, guys, appreciate all of your questions. If you have any more, you know where to find me. At HGramNFL on Instagram, same handle on Twitter. Let's continue the conversation at HGramNFL.